This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus, and joining me today is from our EBC Thailand Bureau. Hello, Esther.
Hi, I'm Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, giving you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. As people started to fill shopping centers to avoid holiday rush, the President Duterte renewed his call to strictly follow minimum health protocols to prevent a post-holiday surge of the COVID-19 cases.
A Malaysian company, Top Glove, that is the world's biggest manufacturer of surgical gloves, will close over half of its factories after a surge in coronavirus cases among workers.
And President Duterte said human rights should avoid tinkering with the country's drug problem and threatening the government with investigation and imprisonment.
The National Security Advisor of the United States, Robert O'Brien, on Monday assured the Philippines and Vietnam, countries both locked in maritime roads with China, that Washington has their backs and would fight to keep Indo-Pacific region free and open.
Now, first, as people start to fill shopping centers to avoid the holiday rush, President Duterte has renewed his call to strictly follow minimum health protocols to prevent a post-holiday surge of the coronavirus cases. Let's listen in.
So, mga kababayan, ganito yan. Ulitin ko, importante is that to wear mask, then washing of the hands, tapos social distancing. Kung maaari lang, huwag ka na lang lumapit. Ngayon, hindi na uso ngayon. Lumapit ka pa.
Yung malaking recovery rate natin na halos 92% ay dahil po sa dumaan ang panahon, talaga pong ang mga kababayan natin ay naniwala po sa ating pong mga gabay.
Secretary Duque added that the DOH has issued a circular reiterating the importance of following the minimum health protocol, especially during the holidays. President Duterte also urged the public to help the military and police stop COVID-19 infection by staying inside their homes if there are no reasons for them to venture outside. He also said people should consider the sacrifices that the military and police have done, especially during the successive typhoons that devastated the country. On Monday, the Department of Health reported 135 new recoveries, increasing the overall tally of COVID-19 recovered cases nationwide to 386,604.
Vietnam on Monday confirmed 5 new cases of COVID-19, including 2 foreign nationals, bringing the patient tally to 1,312. Patient 1308 is a 51-year-old Indian man who flew from India to Hanoi on November 11. He is being treated at the National Hospital for Tropical Diseases in Hanoi Dong An District. Patient 1309 is a 50-year-old man from Ki An Town, Ki An District, Ha Tinh Province. According to the online newspaper of the Vietnamese government, patient 1312 is a 29-year-old Philippine woman who flew from Republic of Korea to Hanoi on flight OZ733. She is being treated at the National Hospital for Tropical Diseases in Hanoi Dong An District. So far, Vietnam has reported 35 COVID-19 fatalities, including 31 in Da Nang, 3 in Quang Nam, and 1 in Quang Tri. The nation has gone 82 days without a single local infection.
Meanwhile, a Malaysian company, Top Glove, that is the world's biggest manufacturer of surgical gloves, will now close over half of its factories after a surge in coronavirus cases among workers, according to authorities. More than 1,000 cases were recorded on Monday, prompting the government to order the plants to close. Top Glove said in a statement it would cooperate fully with the relevant authorities to implement the temporary stoppage, and plant closures had begun. About 5,700 workers have already been screened, and the rest will also undergo tests. Top Glove did not say how the closures would affect its ability to meet orders. The company operates 47 factories, 41 in Malaysia, and many of its workers are from Nepal and live in crowded dormitory complexes. The company can produce more than 70 billion gloves a year and is a major global supplier. Malaysia is battling a resurgent outbreak of the coronavirus, which has infected more than 56,000 people and killed 337. The country's glove manufacturers and other industries have long been accused of mistreating migrant workers, and the United States in July banned the import of gloves from 2 Top Glove subsidiaries over concerns about forced labor. Let's go over now to the Silicon Valley. Joining us live is our EBC correspondent there, Don Orozco. Hello, Don. What is the latest over there?
Good afternoon, Alma, and good afternoon, Esther. The California Governor, Gavin Newsom, and his family are now in quarantine after being exposed to COVID-19. So Newsom said 3 of his children were exposed to a California Highway Patrol officer who tested positive for the virus. The governor said he and his wife, Jennifer, did not have direct contact with the officer. The good thing is that the entire family tested negative Sunday, but will start still quarantine for 14 days as part of a local guidance. And he tweeted last Sunday the following: late Friday evening, Jenna and I learned that 2 of our children had been exposed to an officer from the CHP who was tested positive for COVID-19.
Okay, so how is Governor Newsom now? I know that he has been criticized lately for, did he violate any COVID-19 measures over there?
Yes, Alma. Alam mo, recently, Governor Newsom was under attack for violating his own directive that is in these pandemic guidelines while attending a party in Northern California. The said party was celebrated in closed door and was clearly a violation of state guidelines. He eventually apologized for the mistake.
What about around California? Do you have any updates for us over there? What is happening now in California?
Well, most of California's right now is in purple, which means back to zero, which is, again, lockdown.
Purple tier, you mean?
So in LA, they just announced a new coronavirus-related restrictions that will prohibit in-person dining for at least 3 weeks as cases rise throughout the holiday season. The new rules will take effect Wednesday at 10 p.m. The country's Department of Public Health said in a news release. So restaurants, breweries, wineries, and bars will only be able to offer take-out at saka mga drive-thru and delivery services. Officials had warned that these restrictions could come into play if the country's 5-day average of new cases was above 4,000. Most of California, including LA County, has been under a curfew since Saturday night, 10 p.m.
Okay, so do we have any more updates from Silicon Valley meanwhile?
The video that is being shown right now is actually around the Silicon Valley. And actually, I went around and checked a nearby hospital here that is one that is in South San Jose. And as you see, there is a long queue of residents lining up inside the hospital parking trying to be tested for COVID-19.
Okay, and thanks for the update. But how are you? How's the family, and how are our kababayans there?
So far, I've been in contact with the Consul General of the Philippines in San Francisco, Consul General Henry Bensurto, and he has so far said nothing really drastic that has been affecting any of our kababayans here. But of course, we are still in danger. As a matter of fact, just to share to everyone, you know, Alma, my wife is a first responder here in California who works as a nurse.
Yes.
And because of the prevailing situation now, she decided to go and have her tested, because they take good care a lot of COVID patients, and good enough, she is well and tested negative
that's
on.
good.
So that's the latest here in Silicon Valley. This is Don Orozco, and yes, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Don, and give my love to Tay. Thank you.
Tensions are rising around Thailand's pro-democracy protests, with police shooting 6 people last week and using tear gas and water cannon on streets of Bangkok. The Thai capital braces for the next major rally on Wednesday. After 4 months of rallies, sometimes involving tens of thousands of demonstrators, the mood is getting tougher, with protest leaders warning they are not prepared to compromise. Slogans and insults against the monarchy, unthinkable only a short time ago, are proliferating, while riot police showed last week they are ready to take action against the rallies. The student-led movement has gained a strong base on the streets and social media, and experts say the Red Shirts, a once vociferous group who led major street protests a decade ago, may join the ranks. The movement is calling for the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, who came to power in coup in 2014, to quit for constitutional changes and for reform of the monarchy.
Back here in the Philippines, the Department of Trade and Industry Regional Office has reminded sellers of basic necessities of the price freeze following the declaration of a state of calamity in the entire Luzon by President Duterte due to the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses. Now, under Proclamation 1051, the state of calamity will remain in effect for 60 days unless revoked by the chief executive. DTI Regional Director Judith P. Angeles said in a statement on Monday that concerned citizens can call the consumer hotline of DTI, which is 1384, to report any violation of the Price Act. Under the Price Act, or Republic Act number 7581, a price freeze is automatically imposed on the price of basic necessities when there's a declaration of a state state of calamity, emergency, or similar situation in an area of the country. Angeles said that those found to be artificially raising the prices of goods shall be penalized under the Price Act. Penalties for illegal price manipulation, such as hoarding, profiteering, and cartel range from 5,000 pesos to 2 million pesos, depending on the gravity of the offense.
In Singapore, a Singaporean activist was charged Monday with staging an illegal one-man protest after he stood outside the police station holding a sign bearing a smiley face. The tightly controlled city-state has tough laws against dissent that make it illegal for even one person to hold a demonstration without a police permit. Holovan Wam, who has had numerous run-ins with the authorities, posted a photo of himself on social media in March holding the cardboard sign with roughly drawn face. He said he took the photo to support a climate activist who was questioned by police for taking a picture in the same spot holding a sign that read, "SG is better than oil." Wam, 40, was charged in court with taking part in a public assembly without a permit. The activist posted a photo on social media of himself on his way to court wearing a t-shirt and face mask with a smiley face printed on them. "My guilt is plain for all to see," he said. He was also charged for holding up a sign in 2018 outside court calling on the government to drop defamation against two men over online articles that alleged corruption among officials. Wam faces a fine of up to 5,000 Singaporean dollar or $3,700 US for each offense if he is found guilty, according to charge sheets.
In other news, Indonesia will assume G20 presidency in 2022 after a swap with India, which will chair the world's biggest economy summit in 2023, according to the Indonesian foreign minister. Retno Marsudi said the change of plan was agreed considering that Indonesia would also chair the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in 2023. Originally, the Indonesian presidency was due to be in 2023, she said at a press conference. However, considering that in 2023, Indonesia will also hold ASEAN chairmanship, Indonesia has discussed to swap the G20 chairmanship timing with India. India also has had the same request to change the G20 presidency in 2023. Chaired this year by Saudi Arabia, the current G20 virtual summit has focused on distribution of COVID-19 vaccines and economic recovery. Next year, Italy will be the G20's chair. ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Yun na kaagad ang opening!
Ang masasabi ko lang sa'yo, sobrang napakagaling mo.
You are now a star.
Ang galing-galing mo.
Know your bet ngayong Know Them Best.
Dahil it's our third Monty Finals, panoorin ang bakbakan ng Monty Finalists sa stage. Level up performance sa kantahan. At sayawan.
Ramdam na ramdam ko dito na talagang binigay ninyo yung 100% ng pagkatao nyo sa performance ninyo.
Yung energy nyo talaga consistent.
Talagang na-entertain kami.
Sobrang ramdam ko yung bigat. Kasi alam ko nahihirapan kayo, di ba?
Dito lang po yan sa
Tag-isa ng Galing Part 2!
Singing
and Dance Edition.
President Duterte said human rights avoid tinkering with the country's drug problem and threatening the government with investigation and imprisonment. He said right groups could instead help convince drug offenders to stop using illegal substance.
Do not be afraid of the threats of the itong human rights. Walang mangyayari sa bayan ko. Pag umatras ako, walang mangyayari sa Pilipinas sa panahon ko. Gawain ninyo yan sa hindi na ako presidente. Pero huwag ninyong gawin talaga sa ano. Now, despite of our prior warnings, sige pa, tingnan ninyo yung briefer. Almost nakaano doon, prepared by PDEA, almost 1,000 cases, anak na. Patay ang bayan mo. So what is there? What country do I pass on to the next generation? Sa mga anak ko, sa mga apo ko. Ibig mong sabihin, magkalat yan, sabihin niya, malas niya, ganun talaga ang panahon. Hindi, human rights. We better look for another fight. Yung mga genocide talaga, yung, alam niyo kung anong countries, but do not tinker with the drug problem in the Philippines. This is mine and mine alone. Now, yung mga police pati military, sinabi ko naman, just follow the law.
The president assured government forces that he will continue to support them, so there's no reason for them to be afraid of the threats from the rights groups.
In other news, a lorry driver on trial in connection with the deaths of 39 Vietnamese migrants last year claimed he was unaware they were inside a container he ferried to a port. Eamon Harrison, 23, told jurors he did not know they had been loaded into the lorry he drove to Zeebrugge in Belgium on October 22, 2019. The group of migrants, which included 2 boys aged 15, suffocated to death in scorching temperatures inside the sealed truck container. Their bodies were found in the early hours of October 23, once it had arrived at Purfleet Port in Essex, southeast England. Harrison, from Northern Ireland, has denied 39 counts of manslaughter. He said he was devastated for their families and that he felt shite about the deaths. Now, he is one of 4 men on trial at the Old Bailey in central London after being charged with involvement in the case. George Nika, 43, also denies 39 counts of manslaughter, but has admitted being part of a people smuggling conspiracy. Alongside Harrison, Valentin Calota, 37, and Christopher Kennedy, 24, have pleaded not guilty to people smuggling. Harrison claimed he was unaware of the migrants' presence despite being busted by UK Border Force officials in May of 2018, trying to smuggle 18 Vietnamese people into Britain in another trailer. Now, in that instance, he was issued a civil penalty notice. Prosecutors allege Harrison was involved in 2 successful smuggling runs on October 11 and 18 last year, ahead of the ill-fated trip later that month. The trial of the 4 men, which began in early October, is expected to last up to 6 weeks.
China's aviation regulator will not yet allow Boeing troubled 737 MAX jet to fly in the company's biggest market, owing the lingering safety concerns despite U.S. lifting a ban on commercial flights. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, lifted a flight ban on Boeing 737 MAX imposed after 2 fatal crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia killed 346 people within 5 months in 2018 and 2019. It has since faced lengthy tests and approval processes with aviation regulators worldwide. But the Civil Aviation Administration of China, or CAAC, said on Friday that there was no set timetable for the resumption of flights, according to state broadcaster CCTV, dealing a blow to plane-making giant. China was the first to ground the 737 MAX last year after two of the jets crashed, claiming hundreds of lives. The CAAC said last month that it has its own criteria that Boeing needs to meet before China will be satisfied with the plane again, including assurances that changes to its design are safe and reliable. Meanwhile, some of the relatives of the victims of a fatal Boeing 737 MAX crash in Indonesia have slammed a decision by U.S. aviation authorities to allow the jets to return to skies, saying the move comes too soon.
And back here in the Philippines, President Duterte welcomed the decision of Saudi Arabia to remove key restrictions tying migrant workers to their employers. Saudi Arabia earlier launched the Labor Reform Initiative, or LRI, to benefit around a third of Saudi Arabia's total population, or approximately 10 million foreign workers in the kingdom. In a statement from the Office of the President, President Duterte described the initiative as a major labor reform program that will benefit migrant workers, including almost 800,000 Filipinos. The LRI, which is slated to come into effect on March 14, 2021, makes 3 changes to Saudi Arabia's labor laws. Under the LRI, foreign workers will be allowed to transfer to another employer without the current employer's consent upon contract expiration. The LRI will also allow foreign workers to travel outside the kingdom without their employer's approval and allow them to leave the kingdom without their employer's consent upon contract expiration. The president recognized the LRI as a significant step towards addressing concerns over the traditional sponsorship regime that exists in most parts of the Middle East. He congratulated His Majesty King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, custodian of the 2 holy mosques, for the landmark initiative.
U.S. National Security Robert O'Brien went to Vietnam and met the Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh. Deputy Prime Minister Pham Minh spoke highly of the 2 countries' efforts in organizing events to mark the 25th anniversary of their diplomatic ties despite the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2 also affirmed that their ties have reached peak and have never been better. The U.S. commits to sustaining stable relations and collaboration with Vietnam to accelerate the bilateral ties in a practical, extensive, effective, and sustainable manner, contributing to peace, security, cooperation, and development in the region and the world, the U.S. National Security Advisor affirmed. Regarding measures to further step up the ties, both sides agreed to give priority to early resumption of regular delegation exchange, strengthen humanitarian assistance and settlement of war consequences, and facilitate trade and investment for mutual benefits. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh extended thanks to the administration of the Department of State of the U.S. for their timely assistance for Vietnam to curb a pandemic and overcome the consequences caused by natural disasters in central Vietnam. Earlier the same day, O'Brien had bilateral meetings with Vietnamese Minister of Public Security To Lam and Minister of National Defense Ngo Xuan Ly. He also paid courtesy call on Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc.
Meanwhile, the United States on Monday donated $18 million worth of precision-guided munitions, or PGMs, to the Philippines, which would be used by the government in counterterrorism operations. U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien said during a ceremonial turnover at the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, he said that he was pleased to transfer a package of precision-guided missiles and munitions, including 100 towed 2 Alpha missiles, 12 ITAS and 24 MK-825 to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. DFA Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. received the donation on behalf of the Philippine government and said the smart bombs would boost the capability of the AFP in neutralizing identified or specific threats to national security, particularly in counterterrorism operations. Mr. Locsin said this is the fulfillment of a promise made by U.S. President Donald Trump to President Duterte during their phone call in April. Locsin said the Philippines look forward to training of the use of these weapons with the best and undisputed military power in the world, citing that the U.S. and the Philippines share a deep interest in upholding the rule of law and the rules-based international order. O'Brien said the U.S. welcomes recent statements by President Duterte and the Secretary Locsin at the ASEAN Summit and East Asia Summit, where they called on all nations to respect international law in the South China Sea.
The National Security Advisor of the United States, Robert O'Brien, on Monday assured the Philippines and Vietnam, countries both locked in maritime rows with China, that Washington has their backs and would fight to keep Indo-Pacific region free and open. Our message is we're going to be here. We've got your back and we're not leaving, said O'Brien on a visit to the Philippines after concluding a trip to Vietnam on Sunday. In July, U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper slammed a catalog of bad behavior in the South China Sea over the previous months and accused the Chinese military of having sunk a Vietnamese fishing boat, harassing Malaysian oil and gas development, and escorting Chinese fishing fleets into Indonesia's exclusive economic zone. Earlier, O'Brien added that the Coast Guard, which is under the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, was also studying whether to permanently station several of its patrol ships in the area of American Samoa in the South Pacific.
In a related news, Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Yudo Margono said the Indonesian Navy will move the headquarters of its combat squad to Natuna Islands, bordering the South China Sea. Speaking at a news conference, he said the Naval Combat Force, the Guspurla Command Fleet 1, which is currently deployed in the capital Jakarta, will be permanently transferred to Natuna. Natuna Islands border the South China Sea, and most of which is claimed by China despite competing claims from other Southeast Asian nations, including Vietnam, the Philippines, and Malaysia. Indonesia, the world's largest archipelago nation, is trying to stop foreign vessels fishing in its waters, saying it costs the economy billions of dollars annually. Jakarta claims the area in the southern reaches of the South China Sea and its exclusive economic zone. In January, Indonesia deployed fighter jets and warships to patrol the Natuna Islands waters in a spat with Beijing after Chinese vessels, both Coast Guard ship and fishing boats, entered the area. Indonesia rejects China's 9-dash line claim, saying it contravenes the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
Sa mundong waring walang puwang para sa kanilang pagmamahalan, sapat ba ang tibok ng kanilang mga puso upang bumuo ng daigdig nilang sarili? Inihahandog ng Eagle Broadcasting Corporation ang kauna-unahang romantic teleserye ng Net25. Ang Daigdig Ko'y Ikaw.
Sa mundo
tuwing Sabado, 8:08 ng gabi, dito lamang sa Net25.
At ako'y
Magsisimula na ngayong November 28, 2020.
Sila ang mga kinikilalang bayaning may mahalagang papel para makamit ang kalayaan at pagbabago sa Pilipinas. Pero sa panahong ito, may mga bagong bayaning nakikipaglaban sa sakit na lumaganap sa buong daigdig, ang COVID-19. Ang ating mga frontliner, gaya ng healthcare workers, mga doktor, nurses, medical technologists, at iba pang health professionals, mga pulis, sundalo, security guards, mga tauhan na nangangalaga sa seguridad at mahahalagang pangangailangan ng bawat komunidad. Ang mga bagong bayani, ating pasalamatan. Kilalanin ang kanilang sakripisyo at serbisyo para sa lahat.
okay, saya, saya, okay, saya, saya.
Yes, yes! Uwi na ang babes ko!
Kantahan ko pa yan eh. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday sa'yo, Cardi. Happy birthday sa'yo, Cardi. Saya, saya.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Indonesia is rolling out droids that can make hospital food deliveries at a distance health checks on coronavirus patients, marking the latest move to deploy robots in a global battle against the deadly disease. Jakarta's Pertamina Jaya Hospital is readying Emmy, a human-sized robot made in China, a screen-faced droid, Tammy, as it takes in virus patients. Emmy holds a food and drinks tray that will help hospital workers avoid direct contact with patients, who will be able to communicate with doctors via video call on US-made Tammy screen. Around the world, robots are increasingly being used in the fight against the coronavirus, as they are seen as fast, efficient, and contagion-proof. But Indonesia's robotic pair won't replace all contact, including critical treatment of sick patients. They'll only function as assistants, not as a substitute for our medical team, said Hospital Director Fatima Jan Raknat. In neighboring city-state Singapore, researchers have invented a disinfecting robot with an arm that mimics human movement to help the load off overworked cleaners during the pandemic. Meanwhile, Malaysian scientists created a barrel-shaped robot on wheels that they hope will make the rounds on hospital wards, while robots in Denmark are using ultraviolet light to disinfect frequently touched surfaces.
Thank you very much, Esther, for joining me again today. How are you doing?
Doing good. How about you, Alma?
I'm doing good too. Thank you very much. So, how is the tourist industry over there? It has been a long weekend.
Yes. Like I've told you
Not
last
really long,
week,
but for you guys.
We have like a 4-day holiday here in Thailand, and the domestic tourism obviously boosts. The local travelers travel provinces, and the tourism industry in Thailand is very happy about it.
Okay, kind of active now. Domestic though.
Yes, domestic travel.
Well, let us know if the flights from the Philippines are going to be open there in Thailand. Let us know right away. Thank you very much, Esther, for joining me today.
Thanks, Alma, and that's the latest news around ASEAN. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Esther Adanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Esther. I'm Alma Angeles. Esther and I will live in interesting times.